Hello again. Welcome back. Welcome to the channel, however you want to look at that. Thanks for taking the time to see our progress today. So, the goal that I set out for at this point was to work on some finishing work. Get some trim, some batons, get some airflow inside the spare room. It feels pretty good in there, actually. It's really quite nice. It stays shaded almost all day long, so it stays pretty chilly in there, according to Emily. I think it's pretty comfortable, but it does, since it is built with green lumber, it does always tend to feel slightly stuffy, a little bit more humid than I think it wants to be. Not necessarily an issue when it's not staying humid enough that there's like condensation or any mold issues or things like that, but just enough that I wanted to get some ventilation and mainly get some light in there, so I'm not stuck using the electricity all the time. So at the moment I'm just trying to find tools that I haven't used since we went to Utah, and some of the drills and things turned out they were still in the cargo trailer, so I had to go gather them all up. And I had hoped I could get more done on this right side of the entry, but I only ended up having enough boards to do I think 4 of them that fit. So I got around the I guess I'll call it a sconce post. It's the beam that comes along the wall. It sticks out specifically so that we could put some kind of light on it. And I've got a couple of ideas about that I think we're going to try and go forward with at some point. That I think will kind of give it a unique, fun look, but we'll go over that in the future, since I'm nowhere near being able to run wiring for that. But anyway, so one of the challenges that I ended up facing was I was thinking that I'm doing trim, and as a general rule the trim is pretty much always cut at a 45-degree angle. So I didn't think about that, and I didn't think about the roof or the roof slant, and that the roof is not 45 degrees, at least not on this building. So I kind of screwed up. Luckily I didn't waste the board. I changed how I ended up having to do it, because I put it up, and you'll see here in a minute I'm off to the side cutting, and I didn't think about the fact until after I was pretty much done that cutting over there was, I guess not pretty much, but I got a couple boards cut and then realized I should try and cut them over here, so I just spend more time on camera. Although, I mean, it is a lovely day. It's, nice and breezy. You can definitely see our little forest there, but you can see these are all clearly cut at a nice sharp 45-degree angle, and if you look carefully at the top, it's a little dark up there, but this is when I realized my mistake. So this particular board doesn't actually fit. The first one did, so that's actually still over there, and I'll just use trim to hide that discretion. But because of the steeper angle, the second one doesn't actually fit. So I was checking here to see if it would fit as the far right one, which it did. So I'm going to go cut that. On a side note, this cherry board. I have 3 cherries that are left, and here we'll mark that real quick here. All right, there we go. So this red, or excuse me, magenta circle, or fuchsia if you prefer, is a 1-inch thick board that came from one of the cherry logs for making the wedding thrones, and the yellow circle is some 2-inch thick slabs. These will ultimately become, assuming things work out properly, they will become some gifts for the future. Some little cheese boards and cutting boards and things. So that'll be something. I'm keeping them kind of over here in this area because I do want to keep them dry. But like I said here, I decided I should cut things over here and also save time because now I'm not walking back and forth. But so what I'm doing right now is working on cutting the notch out for that beam I was talking about. And then I gotta add a little bit shallower angle for the roof. And I'm gonna have to, I still need to mill a little bit. I have a few boards that I actually need to check that might fit. They might be long enough for this. But I do have a couple of logs sitting on the mill waiting to be milled that I just need to go take that time to do it so I can finish that up. The biggest challenge I'm facing at the moment is what to do about the door, because I didn't build a traditional door, so like a regular doorknob isn't going to work. When I get around to building the actual door, it'll actually be made out of some oak that I have currently sitting on the ground waiting to be drug out of the forest. But this particular door is basically just built the same way the walls are. It's just kind of a barn door style of build, and I just gotta have to figure out how that's going to work to put some kind of a latch or locking mechanism in there. At the moment, the lock from the outside is a piece of string, and then the lock from the inside is just a couple of blocks attached to the door jamb that you just rotate to keep the door closed. So not very high tech at the moment, but you know, it's an empty shed that's still being built, so it's not like it has to do anything but hold the door closed so that animals don't climb in there. So I'm out of boards that are long enough to finish up that wall section. So the side here, the longest boards are only 8 feet. So I've got that. I've got a lot of those that I can use for that. And as you can tell, this particular board decided it wanted to curl a lot. It sat out in the sun, and it was protected from the rain because it was under the overhang, but apparently the sunlight and just the humidity in the air, I don't know. There's a few of them over there that have had some pretty serious warpage like that. For a long function, it kind of ruins it. But if you're cutting it into small little sections, like for pieces of trim around these posts and around the rafters and things like that, it actually works pretty well. Decided to take a minute and share with some friends the progress. Sorry, my voice doesn't seem to want to talk tonight. It's actually tonight because I had started recording this on my lunch and decided I wanted to lay down and take a nap, which is odd. I don't usually take naps because I wake up and I'm always super groggy for hours after I take a nap, so I find that as a general rule a nap is a very bad idea for me, and I tend to just drink a glass of water and power through whatever it is that I need to do if I'm feeling like I want a nap. But every now and again, my body gets the best of me and says, hey, you really need to take a nap. And I think it's allergies that are just kicking my butt, because it is that time of year and I haven't gotten the brush hog out to mow the field yet. So there's probably a super high pollen content in the air around us for the canary grass, which I am definitely allergic to. But just the past few days, week or so, I just get really winded easily. I've even had a couple of days where, I don't know if you noticed in some of the videos, I'd be checking out my arms and rubbing them. I try to make sure I don't scratch, but there's been, I think, 3 times so far that I've actually broken out in hives on my forearms. So yeah, I spent a little bit of time. Emily, I had an alarm actually set for an hour for my lunch break, and the alarm went off, and I pressed the button to turn it off on my phone, and apparently immediately fell back asleep because Emily asked what I thought was right after. She asked if the alarm was to go back to work, and the phone was sitting on my chest and I was not holding it at all. So it had been at least long enough to let go of the phone and drop my hands. And so I had an hour left to work, but I just took a little bit of a long lunch. Fortunately, my job is generally fairly flexible. But yeah, these allergies are just... I never had challenges with allergies in Utah. But that's been something we've had to contend with here a lot. So, as you can see in the footage, I've now successfully cut my first window in. Windows and doors are interesting when you switch to a pole barn style build. There's no set determination for when or where you put them in, and that's been something that's been kind of a interesting thing to figure out. So because the bents, the posts and the beams and the rafters are actually what's structural for the entire building, the girts are there just to hold the wall up. All they do is hold the siding up, and then the purlins are there just to hold the roofing material up. So the purlins are technically well, not technically, they are structural. But as far as the walls, the girts can be modified however, wherever, because they're not actually holding any of the building structure. So we pretty much, I don't know, 4 or 5 times went out and just kind of stood around and sat around and looked around at what we wanted. And Emily's showing me that she has a plant that she has up in her little platform garden, and she was pretty proud of it, and turns out the rabbits really liked it. But the camera footage died, or the camera battery died, so that was the end of the footage there. But here's where I got to for the siding. And you can see, like, with little pieces around the rafter up there on the top right, um, that warped board didn't really make any difference. And then getting the batons on to cover the gaps in between the boards really is surprising at the amount of finish that it suddenly gives the building. And this is a little bit of a preview. We walked up the driveway that I built last year, and this is our little alder grove, and you can see Charlie up there on the top of the hill. But we went up there to kind of see where we're going to be actually putting our little house site, and it is completely covered in grasses, and we were pleasantly surprised. Most of the grasses were native and not the canary grass, so that was a good thing. But we'll call that good for today. So as always, thank you for watching. God bless you and yours, and stay safe out there.